Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has cautioned his players against believing they will march towards the Premier League title, insisting that Mikel Arteta's men are still a top side. With that, I welcome you to another exciting edition of your favorite sports show, Sports Pizza. My name is Edwin Onyeboli. It was an exciting weekend. We have football, we have tennis, and of course, there is the NBA. And don't forget in the local scene where the MPFL game is reaching is a crescendo. And of course, we'll wrap up the show in our usual manner, giving you the very best of tips, thanks to our in-house analyst, Bankole Oladuni. That's the Tipster's Corner. Once again, welcome on board. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll go straight into all of the action, exciting analysis and information on the show. We'll be back. All right, welcome back. It's time to get into full swing. Bankole Oladuni on set once again. Banky, my man. How you doing?
Edwin, it's good to be here, especially after the weekend we had. It was a pulsating weekend, in the words of Peter Drury, in the English Premier League. The title race seems like a couple of months ago, I don't think there was a title race. But now, will you say advantage has switched hands, and Man City are now in pole position to go on and win the Premier League title. I think the Premier League is still the only place where you have a semblance of a title race. The La Liga is wrapped up. Barcelona, Bundesliga, Bayern are champions with 4 games to go. The Serie A also, I think that's also wrapped up. The French Ligue 1 also, maybe there's a semblance of competition. But I think PSG are probably way too good to lose that one. But I think the Premier League will still give us a bit of excitement. Will still give us the jeopardy that is required for the end of the season, aside from the Champions League. But this weekend was it was spectacular.
And that's where we'll start the English Premier League. It was a title showdown. It was some have dubbed it the game of the season. Like you said, 2 months ago, all of this would have been inconsequential. This particular tie would have been inconsequential. But right now, momentum has swung from Arsenal to Manchester City. How did they lose this advantage, Bankole? How did Arsenal lose this advantage?
So I want to go into the cliche of saying, a team who is looking to end the droughts of many years and would always find it difficult if they don't have a significant lead. Bayern Leverkusen, it was the reason why they won the Bundesliga was based off the fact that they had about double-digit lead over Bayern Munich. Same thing for Napoli under Spalletti. But for Arsenal, I think they've somehow managed to make it difficult for themselves. And I've always said it, every slip up is always like the end of the world. For Arsenal, the body language of Arteta, it translates every mistake. He exaggerates every mistake. Basically, you look at Arsenal, and it was the draw against Nottingham Forest, and I knew that there was something going on with this team. I knew that if you think a draw is the end of the world, especially when you have about 9 points gap, and you are acting like this about a draw to Nottingham Forest, then you are going to have a problem subsequently going forward. Hence, the loss to Manchester City in that Carabao Cup was probably what broke the Camels' back, and you can clearly see how they have declined in terms of confidence in recent weeks. We also talk about how they are finding it difficult to score goals. Scoring from corner kicks, scoring from set piece, being overly physical is not sustainable in a 38 match league. You look at Arsenal spending 65 million on Gyökeres, spending 50 million on Madueke, and yet you can't have a player make the team of the year, an attacking player make the team of the year. You look at all of that, and I think it combines to this particular point. You see Arsenal, you see their inability to control games these days. Declan Rice looks fatigued. Zubimendi has found it difficult to adjust, to the league. And I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. Same thing for Gabriel and Saliba. The partnership seems to be showing a bit of crack, these days. Yuri Timber's injury also might have played a part. Maybe not as significant as a lot of Arsenal fans are making it out to be, but I think it has played a part. But it is a combination of many small things that has led to these big moments.
You brought up Victor Gyökeres, and I want us to highlight his current situation at Arsenal. Prior to this season, the general consensus was that Arsenal needed a goal scorer, and they went into the market, paid about 55 million euros to get him from Sporting CP. In fact, it was a protracted transfer. Now, arguably, I used arguably because the Burnley game could be the biggest. The final game of the season could be biggest. But the arguably biggest game of Arsenal's season, and you start without your high-profile striker, the guy who you went all out to get, to win new titles, to deliver the goods. Does it send the message, not just to Victor Gyökeres, but also to Arsenal fans, in that we spent money because you guys wanted us to spend money? Ordinarily, I would have preferred to focus on my defenders and trying to stop teams than trying to win games.
I don't think it necessarily sends any message to anybody. I think it is more of an indicator that they did something wrong in the summer transfer window. Like I said, I highlighted Madueke also and Victor Gyökeres. To a certain extent, you can also lump in Eberechi Eze because I don't think his output is equivalent to the amount that was paid, for him. So you look at the recruitment that they brought in. Attacking wise, I think they did a lot of things wrong. I don't think that Madueke was going to improve or upgrade the ceiling, of this team. I also didn't think Victor Gyökeres was also going to do anything. And this was an unpopular opinion at the start of the season. I did say they didn't have a goal scoring problem. I don't think Arsenal had a goal scoring problem last season. The problem they had was probably the fact that they couldn't finish off games, and it was not necessarily down to strikers. It was down to the fact that the likes of Bukayo Saka, the likes of Odegaard were struggling to create anything. And we could see this season, even Victor Gyökeres, the few goals he has scored, I don't think it's down to the to the abundance of creativity.
He's got about 5-6 penalties.
In Arsenal. I think it is a system problem. Yeah. I don't think it's just down to the individual, although the individual could have been better. Yeah. I think a certain Kane or a certain Kylian Mbappe might have elevated this team, but you are not getting Harry Kane, you are not getting Kylian Mbappe. So hence it's up to the manager to devise a system that will get the best out of these players. And I don't think Arteta has done that. I think he has been an extremist basically all through the season. He has focused on the defensive side of things, and they've been very good defensively. At some point, we all thought they were going to break the clean sheet record, but that didn't happen. But you could clearly see the partnership between Gabriel and Saliba being one of the best, in the league. Nkapie, Calafiori, during Timber and Mosquera also have been decent this season. And as much as I want to, talk about how in recent weeks he has been poor, but Declan Rice also has done his bits defensively. Yeah. So any player who you would regard as the best player for Arsenal has been on the defensive side of things. I think it is down to the system of Mikel Arteta, and I think what we saw is an indictment on Arteta, is an indictment on the sporting director Andre Berta, that the recruitments that you did in the summer was rubbish, basically. Yeah,
Banky, football is cyclical. You always have this 3, 4, 5 year period of dominance. For Arsenal, I don't know. They could go on to win the Premier League title or even do the double with the Champions League, but I think that window is closing, and it is closing fast. They've had that period where it felt like they could achieve something, and it puts Arteta into a sort of light. Imagine they go the season trophyless. How do you think Arteta's Arsenal career will be viewed, hypothetically speaking, if he leaves at the end of the season?
Basically, I don't want to use a Bible reference, but I think it's the closest thing that you can use to describe Arteta's situation. Is the guy who gets them to the gate of the promised land, but he is not going to be in the promised land. That's even if Arsenal gets to the promised land. That's if they don't offend the God of football and he strikes them with a plague. But
he's taking them out from Egypt.
Yes, he's taking them out of Egypt. He's taking them through the Red Sea. Yeah. He has gotten them somewhere around Palestine, but they're still a bit far from Israel. But for Arsenal, I think you've seen the pinnacle of this project. You've seen the heights, the best, of a lot of these players, and I don't think it is going to repeat itself. I don't think Martinelli would have another 15 goal league, the season anymore. I don't think Bukayo Saka would have that anymore. I don't think Odegaard would have that anymore. You look at this team, and it feels like the only way to go is down. Yes, there are a couple of teams who have finished second, 3 consecutive times have gone on to win the league. Some of them win the league first before going second 3 consecutive times, but I don't think anybody has done it 4 times in a row. And you look at this Arsenal, and the biggest problem is not even Mikel Arteta or if they sack Mikel Arteta. The biggest problem is the managers around right now. How many can they realistically bring in that would upgrade them from this 2nd position? How many can they bring in that would guarantee them a Premier League trophy? I think the only way to go is down. I don't think anybody has done it 4 times in a row. And you look at this Arsenal, and the biggest problem is not even Mikel Arteta or if they sack Mikel Arteta. The biggest problem is the managers around right now. How many can they bring in that would guarantee them a Premier League trophy? I think the only way or the most likely thing that would happen is them struggling for the Champions League places for a while before they get back, into competing for the Premier League. And you look at the quality of players around. I think the quality gap between an Arsenal and a Bournemouth is not as huge as it used to be anymore. They are all shopping in the same talent pool. Victor Gyökeres and Junior Krupi, I don't think there's a significant gap between them. Unlike when you had an Alexis Sanchez, in Arsenal, But for Arsenal, you look at all of this, and like you said, it is probably their best window in terms of winning a title. It happened to Spurs under Pochettino, where they finished second, to Leicester, second to Chelsea, second like about 3 times also in a row. Arsenal also, I think next season, we've always said it in the last 3 seasons, Chelsea might probably be better. Arsenal, Man United might probably be better. Liverpool might probably be better. Man City also might actually improve, from this league winning season if they're going to win the league. So it is always going to get more difficult each year, going forward. But for Arsenal, I think they're in a very peculiar position. And if they do not win the league now, I wouldn't say it's an indictment on Arteta as a manager, but I would say it would be an underachievement on what we've seen, from his Arsenal career.
Finally, Arsenal City conversation. Let's do a bit of Manchester City. And for Pep Guardiola, at some point, it felt like they were going to struggle to even finish in the top 4. And you fast forward to the 3rd week of April, and Banky, we are on the threshold of a probable Manchester City title. Where did it change for City?
Not just Manchester City title, Manchester City double. They are still so thereabouts in the FA Cup.
The FA Cup.
I think for me personally, like I said, the league, you might call it competitive, you might call it, whatever it is that you want to call it. I just think the quality has diminished. I think we have reversed back to normal, where you're no longer seeing teams win with 90 points. You're no longer seeing teams finish second with 96 points. Now it is back to the average, if not below average. So for Manchester City, you can afford to make mistakes, because Chelsea would make bigger mistakes. United will make bigger mistakes. Liverpool, are making bigger mistakes. If these guys were at their best, or even close to their best, I don't think we'll be having this conversation. I think we'll probably be having a Liverpool, closer to the title race if the likes of Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz had worked out. So I think for City, they also got lucky that the people who are supposed to be challengers, the people who are supposed to be contenders, are also fumbling, and I think the same conversation we had last season for Liverpool. Oh, they won the league because everybody was poor. I think I can also see the same thing for City this season. They won the league because almost everybody.
They haven't won the league yet.
Yeah, or they will win the league, or if they're going to win the league, it's down to the fact that everybody were not at their best. It was generally a poor league, especially from the top half of the table, the top 6 guys. I think from 7th down to even the relegation side, I think they did what they were supposed to do. I think the quality was expected from these guys, but from the top 6 guys, it was very poor.
All right, there you have it from the English Premier League. We'll go on a very short break. When we return, there's more on your favorite sports show, Sports Pizza. Don't go nowhere. All right, welcome back to the second half of your favorite sports show, Sports Pizza. Edwin and Bankole is still in the building. Banky, we head straight to Spain, where there were no La Liga matches this weekend, but we saw the Copa del Rey final, Atletico Madrid versus Real Sociedad. 2-2 ended after 120 minutes, but Sociedad prevailed via penalties. And I don't know if we should dwell more on Diego Simeone's failures, or we draw more on a Sociedad side who were not fancy to even make it to the final.
Yeah, I think I would focus more on Sociedad. I think there are a lot of things that interest me in the Sociedad story. This is their second Copa del Rey title in the 2020s. I remember they won one in the lockdown, and now they are winning another one. You look at the fact that at the start of this season, they were in the relegation zone up until Rino Matarazzo joined. And Rino Matarazzo is also a manager who has an interesting story. He's an American. An American-born Italian, basically. You look at the fact that he went to college, and even after graduating with flying colors, he still decided he wanted to be a professional footballer and went to the German 3rd division to ensure that his dream of becoming a professional
Yeah.
footballer comes through. And gradually, he made his way, to becoming a manager. And for a lot of, would you say, stigma going to American coaches, a lot of people believe American coaches are not good enough, are not tactically sound enough for European football. This is a manager who, yes, he has a lot of German education. He has spent a lot of time in Europe, but this is a manager who is showing everybody that it is not until you bring someone from a well-known manager. It is not until you have a backs manager in Real Sociedad, or you have a backs manager in Athletic Club and Bilbao. It was not the norm, to bring in an American into Real Sociedad, and yet you can see the job he's doing. He has brought them closer to European places. They probably might qualify, for the Europa Conference League, but winning the Copa del Rey has gotten them a slot, in the Europa League. But yeah, you look at the job he has done. You look at the fact that they've lost Zubimendi, they've lost Merino, also.
What are who still searching for their first title?
Zubimendi, I think Zubimendi won in 2020, didn't he? I'm quite disappointed, but I'm not overly shocked. You look at that, and it is a case of a manager who I think might want to live on a high, and I think the Champions League might pose a bigger interest to him than the Copa del Rey. Although winning the Copa del Rey will still be something of a significant trophy for Atletico Madrid. But for us to say that, I think this is probably the biggest story or this season in the top 5 leagues in Europe.
And fun fact also, 10 players in that Real Sociedad side graduated from their academy. So big ups to the youth coaches and the structure they have in the Basque club.
Fun fact also, Martin Odegaard, who is probably going to lose the Premier League title, his last trophy was with Real Sociedad, the Copa del Rey.
Interesting one there. All right. From Spain, we must talk about Bayern Munich. 35th Bundesliga title. They won 13 in the last 14 seasons. Absolute dominance, we're not surprised. But the manner in which they are doing it under Vincent Kompany, do you think he's getting the due credit?
So it is always going to be difficult to get the due credit for winning Bundesliga. But the job he has done, especially when you consider the circumstances around him getting the job at Bayern, because probably like the 5th, 6th choice manager, Vincent Kompany, a young manager who would probably find it difficult dealing with the politics, around a bureaucratic, team.
And a black guy also.
Yeah, and also a black manager. Less than forgetting the stigma that he relegated Burnley. Yeah. Also, so all of these coming together, it felt like it was a story that was going to end badly. But the first season, it wasn't all that convincing, but he walked away, with a Bundesliga title. Yeah. And he didn't win the DFB Pokal. No. But this season, they are on course for winning the treble. Yeah. They're going to be playing Bayern Leverkusen, in the DFB Pokal. You have the semi-finals against PSG in the Champions League. And now he has won the Bundesliga with 4 games to go. 109 goals, scored in the Bundesliga. There's still a chance to extend that record, significantly. You look at the fact that he has gotten the best out of the group of players that he had. He has reinvented, Serge Gnabry. I didn't think, Serge Gnabry would ask 2 more seasons in him at Bayern Munich, but now he's playing as a number 10. He shows you how he has somehow managed. I don't want to say make lemonade out of lemons, but at Bayern Munich, where a big club where you expect them to throw money at a lot of problems, they don't do that. So you look at how he has made the best out of the situation at Bayern Munich, and he is a manager who is tactically sound, and now he has gone from a manager who relegated Burnley to probably one of the most sought after managers.
All right, from Europe, coming back home, Bankole, the NPFL, 3 games to go. The leadership has changed. We have Enugu Rangers right now sitting pretty much at the top. Rivers United as second, while Ikorodu City third. Abia Warriors complete the top of 4. At the bottom, we have Warri Wolves, Kun Khalifa, Bayelsa United, Wiki Tourist. But before that, quick one for Rangers. 3 games to go, Banky. I think it's between Rangers and Rivers United. I'm going to rule out Ikorodu City. But again, Rivers United, Rangers, who's going to blink first?
Yeah, this is probably the less aesthetic bottle job story because Rivers United had a significant advantage.
Yeah.
They were on top with two games in hand, and it felt like the league was wrapped up at that moment. But now you can clearly see how they've lost that advantage. And Enugu Rangers, shout out to Fidelis Ilechukwu,
Yeah.
who is doing it tremendous job right there. So I think for Enugu Rangers, just for the sentiment, that comes with you say the lesser team or the team with less resources, the team with less financial power. Yeah, I think I will be rooting for them, but it's going to be difficult to see at points. It's the MPFL. It is quite complicated, to predict the outcome of the league table. But yeah, it's going to be quite difficult. But I will be rooting for Enugu Rangers.
All right, at the bottom, you have Warriors, Kun Khalifa, Bayelsa United, Wiki, Torres, Remo Stars are out of the bottom for by virtue of a superior goals difference. All right, also don't forget that Lagos will be parading 3 teams in the MPFL next season, with Sporting Lagos joining Inter Lagos in gaining promotion from the NNL. And of course, there is a certain Ikorodu City who are pretty much comfortable in the top 3. Banky, before we do our video for the week, let us quickly touch on this one. WWE. Are you a fan of WrestleMania this weekend? And we saw in Nigeria flying the flag of the country on the biggest stage of American entertainment.
Yeah, I might be wrong here, but I don't think any Nigerian has headlined the main events, at the WrestleMania.
No.
So Obafemi doing this is a significant feat, for Nigeria. And I think a Nigerian wrestler also, being comfortable with his Nigerian roots, his Nigerian accent. He's a typical Nigerian. He represents a typical Nigerian. And for me, that seems like a big deal. And also him winning this match against someone I would consider probably my least favorite wrestler. And the reason why Brock Lesnar is my least favorite wrestler is a long story ago. This is a long story. And
it's your favorite?
Yeah, there was this record Undertaker had, never losing, in the WrestleMania 19-0, and Brock Lesnar was the one who ended that record. Hence my dislike, for Brock Lesnar. But yeah, I think Obafemi winning, in the WrestleMania is a big deal for me. It's a big deal, for Obafemi himself. And WrestleMania is the pinnacle. It's like the Champions League, of WWE. And good one for the Nigerian.
During the course of the NBA playoffs, we'll be giving you all the stories, highlights, and of course, plenty of analysis. We need to go on a short break. When we return, we'll wrap up the show with the Tipsters Corner, and we have 2 solid games for our punters this weekend. And welcome back. I'm sure you enjoyed that one for wrestling fans. I used to be a fan of wrestling, Bankole, but the day I found out that it was more or less like scripting movies. Since then, that's Okoga, you lied to me. Shawn Michael, you lied to me.
Bukati, you lied to me.
But it's all good. It's all fun. It's all entertainment. And like you said, it is the pinnacle of wrestling. And shout out to everyone who, of course, supported Obafemi. And of course, sorry, Brock Lesnar. Naija Power. Yeah. And straight up to the Tipsters Corner, we have 2 games this weekend, Banky. 2 games of big significance. In Turkey, it is Galatasaray versus Fenerbahce. And of course, in Italy, it is AC Milan versus Juventus. Yeah,
let me start off with the Milan-Juventus game. This is a story of 2 teams who Milan are quite comfortable in the Champions League spot, especially when you consider Napoli losing over the weekend. But yeah, I think it's also going to be very important that Milan have struggled to score goals in recent weeks. So I don't think we should be we should be aligning ourselves in the way of goals, in this particular game. I think any team to score 3 in a row, no. Home win to nil, no. I don't think Milan will be winning this game. You can also go with a draw, at least a 1/2, in this particular encounter. But for the Fenerbahce Galatasaray game, I think there will be an abundance of goals, in that particular encounter. Draw over 2.5, home over 2.5, home or draw and over 1.5 also seems very likely. Over 2.5, both teams to score. But basically, just align yourself in the way of goals, in the game between Galatasaray and Fenerbahce, but do the total opposites in the game between Milan and Juventus.
There you have it. Remember to always bet responsibly. You have to be 18 years and above, and the Sports Pizza is not responsible for any bet loss. We only give you our expert opinion on the possible outcomes, very key, possible outcomes of these games. I'm sure you've had a wonderful time with us. You've enjoyed all of the analysis. Do remember to follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are showing on your screen, and you can catch up on previous editions of the show on our YouTube page. Banky, thank you for being a part of today's show as always.
Yeah, Edwin, it's always nice doing this with you.
Yeah.
And from me to our audience, have yourself a lovely, lovely weekend.
A shout out to all Manchester United fans, even though we didn't talk about United, enjoy the win. My name is Edwin Onyobolis here. Do have a fantastic week. See you same time next week.